off by just kind of going over like a brief summary of what I want to talk about tonight, and basically structure it similar to what the handout was saying. Basically what I wanted to talk about tonight is that I have been doing a lot of research lately about hormones in women and what's happening in our environment, and it's really daunting, and it's really like I wanted to share it so that we can educate ourselves enough to be able to protect ourselves against what's going on. It's an epidemic. It's definitely, I see it more in the store than anything else. It's women's hormone balancing. It's way off. In men's too, but I hope we're balancing out a little bit. I've also found that by researching and looking at it, that it's a base of so many other issues that are going on for women, in that when you start to kind of unravel it and take away all the pieces that keep coming down to the core, is that our hormones are off. Hormones are carriers. They're messengers. They're what tell our bodies what to do. So when that mechanism is off, it can throw off your entire system and then it's a domino effect. So it's connected to blood sugar, it's connected to depression, it's connected to energy levels, it's connected to obviously any reproductive problems that are going on, cholesterol problems, thyroid problems, the list just goes on and on and on. So when I formulated this and understood what's going on, I'm realizing that that's really something that we all need to look at. There's really very little information out there. I have had to search very deeply to get the information that I've gotten. And I've watched. So basically what I want to talk about is some herbs that I've discovered have helped tremendously. And also just some strategies that you can do at home for diet, food to eliminate, and different techniques that really help. So, to start off, what I wanted to talk about was what I've discovered is going on in the environment. There are three main hormones that are in women's bodies. It's estrogen, which is actually a term that's used for a number of different estrogen-like hormones. So I'm just going to use that as a broad term. There's about 27 or 28 types of estrogen, but it's kind of a broad umbrella. And then there's progesterone and testosterone. So those are the three most important hormones that are a part of ours. Estrogen is what ends up producing. So it ends up creating tissues. It's the predominant hormone when we're developing as adolescents. It creates breast tissue. It creates ovarian tissue. It's the one that releases the egg. It creates the egg. So it's basically like the growth. That's what estrogen does. It grows and it forms. Progesterone, which is the other one, is the one that regulates that. So progesterone's function is predominantly to counteract estrogen and balance it out. So progesterone is predominantly used during the time of ovulation, and it's the time where after the egg has been released, that's when progesterone gets let out. Progesterone is connected to our testosterone levels. If you don't have progesterone, you don't have testosterone. Testosterone, as we all know, is more of the masculine hormone, but it's the sex drive, it's the viralness, it's the like that we get. So when you don't have progesterone, you have very little testosterone. So that's kind of the basis, very simple terms of what the hormones are that are in our body. Our estrogen levels are super high. The last study that I just read is that our blood right now is about 50 times higher in estrogen than it's supposed to be. So it is so imbalanced. And the reason being is that there's this substance being found in our gut called estrogen. And estrogen are chemically made estrogens that are now being found in our environment. So that whole thing with supplements, estrogen, and you've got to get estrogen in your body is so backwards. And they're finally realizing that, and they're starting to do more progesterone supplementation, but it's still synthetic, it's still made in the lab, and it's like just really high potency. And they all, three of those main hormones all work together. They have to be in balance. So when one's up, one's way down. So that's what's happening is our estrogen levels are really, really high. What that's connected to is overgrowth, breast tissue, ovaries, uterus. It's very much connected to cancer. It's very much connected to polycystic ovaries, which is really just a term of extra tissue that are in your ovaries or your uterus, which is basically what it is. It's cystic. It's like trying to keep creating, and it's basically too much tissue in there. It's also affecting hugely our sex drive, and that's a big one that I hear often is how women are just, what can I do? And it's the same thing for men, which is why Viagra is like the highest selling drug right now, is because men are having the same problem. Is that their estrogen levels are not. And for us as women, it definitely affects our cycle. Our cycles are all out of whack. It affects our mood because progesterone, and at the normal level, is what also releases the right level of cortisol. So it's very much connected to our cortisol levels, our adrenal. Everybody has this adrenal fatigue thing going on, which is partly to do with our environment. We're having stimulus all the time, and we're just like, we're in flight or fight. That's just the world we live in. But a big part of that is our progesterone levels are way too low. And that's what regulates all of that. So when that's exhausted, our adrenals get exhausted, our cortisol levels go up too high. So it really is a huge domino effect. Progesterone is also largely a regulator of cholesterol. You need cholesterol in order to produce progesterone. But cholesterol, when it accumulates in your system, is what turns into bad cholesterol. So when you don't have the right progesterone levels in there, then your bad cholesterol is accumulating. So that's another connection. So as I kept unraveling all this, I was like, wow, this is so many epidemics are going on or directly contributing to that. So I want to talk about xenoestrogens and where they're found, because it's everywhere. And that's what I want to talk about. Some strategies that you can use to get away from some of them. Plastic is the number one estrogen that they're finding. Plastic water bottles, plastic that we're storing food in. It's like impossible to even get away from the plastic in a lot of ways. My go-to variations that are coming in plastic. It's everywhere. But you can definitely make some choices that will limit some of it. You're off. Is it still okay?
Yeah, I don't have that.
So what I found is plastic water bottles is one of the worst sources of it. What's happening with these petroleum byproducts that are creating plastics is that they contain estrogen, synthetically made estrogen. And so when they bottle water, I've watched these videos and it's just crazy. They make the bottle, so they're melting the bottle in the plant, and they're putting the water right in and they're bottling. So it's like barely even cooled off. It's like it's all done in the same factory. It's like, okay, let's heat up plastic, put the water on it, and then tighten it and sell it, basically. And there are so many byproducts from that, and one of them is really the only way to get away from that is either if you have a really good well source at your house. I definitely would not suggest drinking municipal water, even in Conway. But if you have a good well system in your house, it's excellent, and spring water is definitely the best way to go. The big plastic bottles, that you can get delivered are a little bit better because they're a thicker plastic, but they're still suboptimal. They're not the plastic. They're better than the little, like the more squishy something is, the thinner the material and the more it can seep into your water. So the thicker ones are better. So for Nalgene, for some reason, I don't understand chemically why, one of the worst. And those bottles, that's one of the worst features of all the bottles. So anyway, but fresh spring water, if you can get it, is the best. There's a spring right on River Road, not even like maybe a mile from here, and it is such pure, amazing water. Like people come up from that to get it. So it's amazing water. So that's one way that you can get away from it. It isn't a big one. Water is the most essential thing that we take into our bodies. So if you can switch away from the plastic-ridden, high estrogen water to switch over to something lighter, that's going to make a difference. Food storage is big. A lot of people store their food in plastic. Like Tupperware. Yeah. A lot of people put stuff in Tupperware. And that is another